Hello, my name is Kieran Rudge. I'm a graduate student at the Yale School of Environment. Today I'll be presenting on climate, community, economy, and health, analyzing reporting of climate change and intersecting issues in the U.S. Virgin Islands. This presentation is based off the study linked at the bottom of this slide. So this study was done in order to investigate climate change impacts to natural resources and people through many different avenues, as well as economic development taking place, healthcare and health hazards associated with climate change and community engagement, in planning and sharing of knowledge around these issues. The study focused on local news reporting to understand discourse around these issues, and specifically what narratives were present in local media and how these issues were being talked about in relation to one another. U.S. Virgin Islands was chosen as a case study because it's experiencing the same climate change impacts as much of the Caribbean and is undergoing significant economic development to make their economy and their social ecological system in general more resilient. So first off, why is the discourse analysis of news important? It's crucial to have an informed public that's knowledgeable of the threats they'll be facing, as well as of opportunities to engage in planning around these solutions. What can patterns of discourse tell us? The amount of reporting on specific issues and the ways in which news outlets present them correlates to public awareness and views on these issues. And this is a two-way street where media influences the public, but the media representation of issues is also a reflection of current discourse in the public sphere. And this is valuable for decision makers because it can inform future policies that are based on gaps in knowledge and the different narratives existing in the public mind and the media. So these research questions to approach these issues was, on the quantitative side, how frequently are the issues being written about together? And on the qualitative side, how are these issues being written about together? So what arguments are being made and what narratives are being presented? So to do this, the methods are looked at the top 3 news sources in the US Virgin Islands, as you can see on the right, and using an application programming interface, use terms like climate change, public health, economic development, and many others that fell into these different issue areas to scrape and download names and dates of news articles that were published on these issues. Then I analyzed overlaps in these articles, so how many of them contained more than one of these terms, and then from there took a sample of 90 articles and qualitatively analyzed them to understand the narratives and how the issues were being talked about. So here are some of the quantitative results. I won't talk about all of them, but on the left you can see reporting on mainly economic development and climate change, healthcare and economic development, and also health and climate change were the top 3 issues that were reported on together. And so there's significant overlap between these 3 issues. To put that in context, health and climate change overlap of 63 articles is roughly 8.7% of all climate change articles that were reported on, and it's roughly 1.5% of all health articles, just to put that in context of how much of this overlap was a part of the larger reporting. Getting into the qualitative sample, so this is showing the 30 sampled articles that were within the health and climate change category, and the bolded narratives and arguments are ones that appeared in greater than 50% of these sampled articles. So things like climate change is a threat, climate change has harmed or currently will harm people in the Caribbean, adaptation is needed, and healthcare infrastructure needs to be improved. So off of these qualitative results, just some conclusions that we can see from the entire study. In blue, you'll see some of the quantitative issues, these strong overlaps that we talked about, and some of the virtually non-existent overlaps, for example, between climate change and community engagement. And in the green, some of the most important takeaways from the narratives and the qualitative section. 1, both climate change planning and healthcare infrastructure improvements are needed was a common narrative. However, climate change and healthcare planning were not discussed in an integrated manner. So this is important to note because while overlaps exist in the reporting, these issues, at least in local news media, were not shown as integrated problems, and therefore they weren't proposing integrated solutions. So off of this research, finally in the conclusion, policymakers and other key stakeholders can craft informed solutions that address these gaps in knowledge and take bold actions on areas that are well supported to try and work towards these integrated solutions that are really strong to build climate change resilience as well as healthcare resilience as a whole. Thank you.